Good morning and welcome to today's devotion for Tuesday, January 7th, 2020. And today's devotion we're still in the book of Daniel, chapter 1, but today we're going to be reading verse 8. And the title of the devotion is Daniel Refuses the King's Buffet. Daniel 1:8 says, "But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself." Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah were prisoners of Babylon. Now we read about them in yesterday's devotion. Remember Daniel and his three friends, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, otherwise known as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. You may have heard those names at some point in your Christian walk. But their Hebrew names were Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. And those four were all prisoners of Babylon after Babylon took Jerusalem captive. Most prisoners were treated badly, but these young men were the upper class of Jerusalem. Their intelligence far exceeded their peers. Therefore, they were offered the same food as the king was eating. Although this sounds great, the bountiful buffet was not so appetizing to these Hebrew young men. King Nebuchadnezzar and the people of Babylon worshipped idols and would pour out a portion of their wine and food as an offering to their idols. In no way did they follow the same dietary laws as the Hebrews. To these dedicated, godly young men, this food and drink was defiled in more ways than one. Prisoners are not typically offered a menu to select their favorite foods. So what were these Hebrew young men to do? To start, they were not demanding and picky eaters, but respectfully requested to eat only vegetables and have water to drink. At first, their guard was concerned with his own safety if they looked malnourished, but at last he relented to a 10-day trial of the vegetarian diet. It worked. These young men looked healthier and happier than any of the other prisoners. What are the lessons that we are to take from Daniel and company? Number 1, happy meals do not always bring happiness. Number 2, if food compromises your relationship with God, then vegetables from his garden are better than a steak from Satan's grill. And number 3, pleasing God is always better than pleasing men. And finally, number 4, and the old adage, just because everyone is doing it doesn't make it right in God's eyes. And our final thought comes from Daniel 1 verse 17, and it reads, "As for these 4 children, God gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams." You know, Daniel had the opportunity to hear directly from the Lord such prophetic messages. And that gave Daniel hope that no matter what he or his friends did, that the Lord had already foreseen the future. And Daniel knew it was a good future. So knowing the outcome ahead of time gives you assurance in the presence. For example, and I'll use a typical American term, if I know that my football team is going to win the game, then in the second quarter, when I see my quarterback get sacked, it's easy to go, oh no. And you can start to worry about things like, oh, we're going to lose, or no, you can see bad things happening. But if you already know that you're victorious in the end, that'll help you get through those tough times. So if we already know the end of the book of the Bible, we already know that the Lord is victorious over Satan and his demons. So knowing that, if we see Satan and his demons attack in any way, and we as Christians are suffering for it, that's like watching your quarterback getting sacked, but knowing that you're going to win the game anyway. It makes it a little bit easier to tolerate the bad times because you know the good times are coming. So I hope that's been a blessing to you hearing that lesson. I hope that it gives you more encouragement as you go throughout the rest of the day. And I hope that you share that story with others and ponder it and read the missing verses that we're skipping, because I'm only reading one or two prominent verses for each devotion. But if you were to read the whole chapter, you'd get a bigger and a broader picture of the story that's being told here. So thank you again for watching. I love every one of you, and I thank you for joining me and sharing this time with me. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and God bless. Bye-bye.